Yeah. What's up, guys? Nasir coming at you with another video. And this video has been kind of delayed because of like me going through shit. Not like bad shit, but like just life and shit in general. It's been crazy. As you know, we had the Switch come out or get revealed. We saw some games for it. We've seen the tariffs are about to do that. I've also been working. That's another reason why I haven't been recording videos during the weekends off. I'm recording this on Sunday. It's fucking all next week I'm gonna be working, and then I'm working the week after that. Then I gotta start doing some other shit for a different job. So it's like I'm trying not to be like as inconsistent, because one of the big things I hate is being inconsistent. Inconsistency to me is, I feel like, one of the biggest things I always needed to keep, and even now more than ever I feel like it's something I really need to get back to doing. I need to find that balance, because like sometimes I want to record and I just fucking procrastinate on it and I don't. So I need to work on that. But we're here to actually not talk about how the world is fucked and shit's ass right now. We're here to talk about fighting games and what happened about a week or so ago with Tekken and just the fighting game space in general, because seemingly a lot of people, or some people, had a lot of realizations that went on when Tekken went through what it went through, and it's still currently going through what it's going through, and it doesn't seem like it's changing completely from what I've seen and what it seems like a lot of people have spoken on. So for people that don't know and need like just a little quick overview, Tekken 8 had season 2 get it kind of revealed, not fully revealed, but they talked about a lot of the things. Tekken, it did come out, because I was thinking, did it come out? Yeah, it did come out, because people have been playing it. Tekken 8 actually had season 2 come out, and seemingly a lot of people in the Tekken space were wanting a lot more defense, which in Tekken 7 it was a very defense oriented game. So in Tekken 8 they were like, we're gonna go more offense oriented. And in season 1 it seemed like people didn't really like that, and the reason they didn't like it was because Tekken 8 felt too offensive, with not enough defense mechanics in the game or defensive options. It wasn't as strong as people thought it should be. So wrap that up to season 2 now. Season 2, people were asking for way more defense. And I watch Lotus. He covers Tekken. My homie JD is a big Tekken guy. I'll make sure to throw his channel up on screen, and he's always in the description. He's one of my bros. But he's a big Tekken guy, so he wanted defensive mechanics to be a thing in the game, because he likes balanced fighting games with strong offense, but also strong defense as well. And the Tekken 8 devs made a video seemingly talking about season 2, and it seemed like from what they were talking about that they heard people's critiques about it being very offensive oriented, and they agreed with it. So then when Tekken 8 season 2 dropped, it didn't drop the patch notes like how they normally did, so that was a little weird, because I'm used to seeing Lotus cover the patch notes immediately, and then the game comes out, or then the update comes out. But that didn't happen. The update just came out, and I think the patch notes came out the day the update came out, which is normally not what they do. And then it's like, wait a minute, why is there all this offensive shit in the game that seemingly contradicts everything they talked about in the Tekken? I think it was the Tekken Live. I forgot what it's called, but the live stream, basically, where they were talking about everything that they're gonna do for season 2. It's like they added some defensive stuff, and they did improve some defensive mechanics, so it's not like a complete lie where they just didn't do anything defensive and just flipped it on its head and did 100% offense. But like, majority of the update was defense, was characters getting more offensive tools to be more oppressive and to be stronger, which is what Tekken fans seemingly did not want. And there's been a big uproar in the Tekken community of a lot of creators not liking the game, dropping the game, or saying they're gonna drop the game. They're saying that season 1 retroactively was way better. Was not retroactively, maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, but looking back at it, they're saying season 1, they didn't even realize how good they had it, because now season 2 is that ass to where season 1 by comparison looks way better. And other people are saying things like, oh, I'm going back to Tekken 7, and because I don't like Tekken 8, and I'm just like, it's crazy, because I remember like people talking about Tekken 7 not fairly well. Like, people did not like Tekken 7, so I'm like, that's crazy that we're at that point with Tekken. And Lotus pointed this out, because he low-key dropped a video before he dropped his video talking about Tekken 8, where he was talking about fighting games, and he said how Dragon Ball FighterZ had did this to him, where Dragon Ball FighterZ went from a game that he really enjoyed to this game that was super offensive oriented, that didn't really have risks for doing a lot of things, and went in the direction that he didn't really like, and he felt like Tekken was going in that same direction. And he felt like, he said that he came to the realization that fighting games aren't for the people that play fighting games, it's for the people that aren't playing fighting games, trying to get them into it. And my response on that, my whole thought process with, you know, everything that's happened in the fighting game space, and why it seems like now more than ever fighting games are very divisive and have become divisive. Even the big fighting games have become like kind of divisive in their ways, because Street Fighter 6 has gone through its fair share of controversies, Mortal Kombat 1's gone through its fair share of criticism, and now seemingly Tekken 8 is also going through its fair share of criticism. Street Fighter 6 is, I think, what a lot of people would agree is the best in terms of like the least amount of criticism and a game that people enjoy, but it's still like that game doesn't have its that game's not perfected, or not perfect, because costumes in that game to pay for are ass. The handling of costumes is ass, like flat out. NetherRealm's shit is people don't fuck with the gameplay aspect of it, and it's not, and they like MK11 better with the like customization you can do and the amount of like stuff that they did in that game and let you customize and have access to. Comparatively, the MK1 is a lot less. But like, yeah, skins and stuff in Mortal Kombat had its criticisms at one point, but NetherRealm went and fixed that. Street Fighter 6 is paying for costumes. That shit is still ass in my opinion, and has not gotten better. But because Street Fighter 6 has been a more successful game, they haven't had to address that. They don't need to do it, because it's like, yeah, it's ass and it fucking sucks, but if you enjoy Street Fighter 6, just play with your character with no costume. If you're gonna buy the skin, buy the skin. If you don't, don't. You know, that's just kind of how it seems like the Street Fighter community looks at it. Tekken 8 had the battle pass shit that they didn't really fuck with, and like I said, season 1 as a whole has been under, I'm not gonna say intense criticism, but it's had its criticism for sure. And then season 2 is just similar, like not what people are fucking with at all. Then there's the whole shit with multiverses and that going away. Then there's, like I said, Dragon Ball FighterZ that people don't like how that game went in that direction. Then I saw people saying with 2XKO they don't like some of the things that they've potentially done for that game, and also like the way it looks optically right now with that game is kind of putting people in sometimes a questionable mindset with it, I guess is one way of phrasing it. And I'm just like, it seems like it's a really weird time to be a fighting game player slash YouTuber. But back to the point of what I was talking about earlier with Lotus and what he said about fighting games, I've kind of accepted that and already knew that fighting games were not for people who play fighting games primarily. These are games that are made to bring in new people to the fighting game space and try to please the people that already play it. Because Mortal Kombat is one of the big three for a reason, and is arguably the biggest one. Maybe not this current iteration, but previous iterations, NetherRealm was always the biggest because they brought in the most casuals with their game, and always were seemingly the easiest to play, because it's like Street Fighters, other Street Fighters besides Street Fighter 6, you didn't really hear like that they were super easy to play or super user friendly. Of like, you can hand somebody this that's never played Street Fighter and they're just gonna immediately have fun and play good, and like, nah, it was definitely a higher level of skill required to play Street Fighter, at least optically from the outside, being somebody who didn't play Street Fighter before Street Fighter 6. And Tekken, it still kind of looks like that, because when, like, maybe it's just my NetherRealm brain, because it's like now in Mortal Kombat, they're like, now you have to break throws with forward throw or back throw. I find that to be the stupidest fucking change ever. And I know Tekken, that's a thing of like, oh, if you grab with your left hand, you gotta know to break it with this, and if you grab with your right hand, you gotta know to break it with this. I'm like, bro, that's stupid as hell, because I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to think that in depth on a throw. I feel like if I press the button that you press to do a throw, you shouldn't throw me. I should not have to dedicate parts of my brain to being like, did he grab me with his left arm and the camera's on my right side? Okay, well, I gotta press square or whatever. And even in Tekken, it's even more complex because there's like, there's 1 throws, there's 2 throws, there's 1 plus 2 throws, and it's like, dog, what? I gotta press 2 buttons in a certain combination to break a throw. I'm like, I get the Tekken players are used to it, so it's not a big issue to them. But like, that's one of the reasons I'll never play Tekken, is because it's so much shit you would have to learn and take in, and then you have to get comfortable with that at a base level to even then start learning your character more in depth. I'm like, the game, in my opinion, is very complex, and so complex to the point that I'm like, I don't want to dedicate that much time to its complexities and its nuances and stuff like that. But with fighting games as a whole, like I said, I've been accepted the kind of mindset of that, because every fighting game for the last 6-7 years has been saying the same thing. We want to get more new people into the game. We want to bring more casuals into the game, because I was having a conversation with my homie JD and Joe and Bond, because we were talking about this in Discord one day. And let me know if you want me to like bring them in low key. I can bring them in and do like one of my older videos where like we just talk about the state of fighting games, because me, JD, and Joe will come from the perspective of we play a lot more fighting games, and Bond can be like the guy who doesn't really play them like that if you want to hear different perspectives, because I play primarily fighting games and only fighting games, obviously on my channel, but like I play other stuff, but like on my channel I'm strictly fighting games, so I play them probably the most because of my content. Maybe JD's second. Joe doesn't really like touch fighting games like that, as far as I know now. He'll play like 2XKO, and he'll play like City of the Wolves, but like he's not every day playing a fighting game grinding that hoe. He has done it in the past, but like actively right now he's not doing that. So we all come from different dynamics, and I think that could be a very interesting video if y'all want to see that. But like I was saying, we were talking about, and I'm like, I understand fighting game fans, like the guys who have played fighting games for years, and why they don't like this orientation of, hey, we're heavily appealing to the casuals, and in doing that we kind of don't really appeal to our veterans the same way that we may have in the past. But I'm like, I said this to my homie, I was like, just as an example, Street Fighter 6 Street Fighter was not as popular as it was now, where Street Fighter 6 did what it did, which was kind of making it easy for casuals to come in and play it. Street Fighter 5 was not good at all. Street Fighter 4, I think, I wasn't playing it back then. I'm not in the Street Fighter community that much to know how widely loved it was, but it didn't seem like Street Fighter 4 was as hated as 5. But it didn't also seem like Street Fighter 4 was just this like game that it was like, oh, you play fighting games, you gotta play Street Fighter 4. It's so easy to get into the game, but then when you get into the game, you really want to learn the game and get better and get in depth with it. That didn't seem like it was a thing that a lot of fighting games from previous generations had. They didn't have just this, oh yeah, you can get in, play it, but then you can really get in and play it and really become like engrossed in its mechanics and what it has to offer. And a lot of people like that fighting games have that kind of depth to it, but like it's to differing degrees, because like what's a good example? Dragon Ball FighterZ, I guess, in season 2, 1, 2, and 3, not all of season 3, but like 1, 2, and maybe beginning of season 3 kind of had that for some people, where it was like season 1 and 2 people are like, oh my god, Dragon Ball FighterZ was this game that had this easiness to pick up and play, but if you really wanted to learn it and play it, you could really like learn it and like really sink your teeth into really becoming good at the game and like really becoming more advanced the longer you play. And it kind of happened to me like that in season 3, because I came in at the beginning or middle of season 3, and it was like, oh yeah, you go from just pressing square and doing auto combos and like doing supers and stuff, versus like actually learning how to do stuff like re-jumps, like TLDs, even though I never did one like in game. I still learned like TLDs and stuff. So it's like I see the appeal of having those type of games, and this is one of the reasons that Dragon Ball FighterZ, like I said, did as good as it did. It was easy to pick up if you really wanted to pick it up, but at the higher levels, if you really wanted to learn, you could do that, and by doing that, you made it fun for casuals, fun for mid-tier players, and then fun for the hardcores, because it was a game that had layers and depth. But people don't like that some games are becoming as casual friendly as they are. And like I said, I understand the mindset of it, but at the same time, I've also come to a certain level of acceptance that as a mid to above average player of fighting games, I say mid tier just because like I wouldn't say I'm your generic, I just mash buttons and press things, not actually learn things. And if I really dedicate to a fighting game, I get to a certain level of like kind of high-ish, but like not super high. I'm not masters in Street Fighter 6, but I'm diamond. I'm like the right before it, so you know I'm not crazy high, but also not like gold in Street Fighter 6, if you feel me. So like I put my time and I dedicate to fighting games, and I definitely think that I'm like an above average player, if not just want to say like average. I think I would be above average in some regard. We're above average, personal opinion, but point of me saying that is that we are not the people that make games what they are. If some games didn't appeal to the casuals the way that they do, in ways that we may not like, I don't think fighting games as a whole would be as popular as they are now, because fighting games more recently have become, I might say that weird, fighting games recently have become way more popular than they ever were in the past. And I feel like in some part, I'm not saying it's the main part, but I feel like it being more casual oriented has played a large part in that. But in doing that, developers need to also know when to draw the line in the sand, because we've seen games, like I said, Multiverse, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, 2XKO, where people are like, hey, we like that these games are casual oriented to some degree, but in some ways it feels like it's a little much. And it's like, well, who do you listen to? Do you only listen to the mid to top tier players, which might be a good chunk of your community, and go with what they want? And then now casuals, if they don't like the change for whatever reason, because if casuals don't like the change and feel like the change doesn't really, you know, do it for them, it's like, okay, well, you know, fuck it, we don't want to play the game. It could end up being a good game that sells well, but it could have been so much more than just a good game that sells well. Kind of like Fighters. It's like Fighters could have easily just ended up being an okay Dragon Ball game, but casuals really liked that game, and casuals could come in and have fun, and then the mid to high tiers also really love the game. So when you have all three come together, I feel like it makes your game different, in the sense of like, it's not just your average fighting game that was just accepted but not loved. I feel like Fighters was loved, and I feel like devs go chasing that instead of trying to chase just a game that people like, which for obvious reasons I think they should. But in chasing making a beloved fighting game, I feel like they get not lost, because sometimes it is self-awareness that you do this, but sometimes it's like, this is kind of what you have to do to try to appeal to casuals. Because like, if you don't appeal to casuals, and like say you just make a generic fighting game, if they make a Street Fighter 4 now exact the same way, except just put it on newer consoles, I don't think it's selling that well. Like, obviously it's a new Street Fighter, but functionality wise, I feel like if it's an older playing Street Fighter, but not like super old, and then they just port it on new consoles with good visuals and stuff like that, I don't think that it will be the Street Fighter 6, if that makes sense. I feel like it will be in some ways better because it's benefiting from Street Fighter 6, but I feel like I said, I just feel like it won't hit that same next level. And I could be wrong in thinking that, but I just don't feel like it will, because it's like, it'll be popular, but will it appeal to casuals? Can you make this game appealing to people that have never played Street Fighter? If you can't do that in some way, shape, or form, and you can make that appeal not technically the gameplay, you can have just sick looking characters, sick guest characters, and that could draw an appeal like that. But if they didn't play the game isn't fun enough to make casuals want to stick around, then it's like they won't stay, you know? And I think that's why they cater so heavily towards casuals, because they want people that don't play the game to play. I feel like it's an inadvertent side effect that makes more veteran players then get turned off, because they feel like the game is changing in ways that they don't necessarily like, or sometimes just don't like at all. And now it's a split down the fandom of, are they going to keep making this a casual oriented game, or are they going to actually, you know, like pay attention to the people that put the game in the position that it was? But you can never just stay stagnant at the same time. You can never just keep making games for veterans and then just expect your series to be on the same level of like a Street Fighter. You have to appeal to all three audiences, while also not making all three audiences hate your game at the same time. And it's a tough balance. Recent fighting games have been seemingly going down. If you have like an idea for what you think that they could do, or like you have like a thought that like, hey, they could do this, or they should try this, or they should do this and don't do that, let me know in the comments. Because like I say, it's a weird split where it's like, it's hard to just tell them to do one thing, because I feel like doing one thing, like how in Mortal Kombat, for them, I played Mortal Kombat 1 a lot. A lot of people in Mortal Kombat are like, I hate the cameo system. And I'm like, okay. But I feel like if they just went back to Mortal Kombat 11, yes, Mortal Kombat 1 functionality wise is a more fun fighting game than Mortal Kombat 11, but I feel like cameos are in some small part or large part what makes it very different. Because it's like MKX and MK11 are not too different gameplay wise. Yes, they are different, but like customization and all the other stuff around, and the gameplay is similar. Not exactly the same, but it has similarities to MKX, and it didn't perform as well for obvious reasons, because the gameplay wasn't as fun as MKX. But you can't just make a fighting game that is just always going to be as fun as the next one. You're going to have to do stuff that may end up not working out for that game. It may not have the same appeal in some aspects as that other game, you know? So it's like, it's hard to just replicate the same formula and make the same thing perfect every time. Sometimes they try to do different stuff, it doesn't work out, but at least you were different and trying to innovate. But some people don't like the innovation of doing new stuff, because like some people in Tekken don't like the innovation of giving other characters new moves and doing stuff like this and that, because they already feel like the game is too one-sided. So it's like the innovation and trying to be more offensive oriented is not what they want. So do we just make it now more defense oriented, is what a lot of Tekken fans would say yes, but they look at it probably as developers like, well, if we make it more defense oriented, then like it's either gonna be balanced, which is what people wanted, or they feel like they gotta make defense like really good and might overtune defense now. And now Tekken 8 went from a game that was too offensive oriented to now defense is more oriented, and Tekken fans might like that, but that's not going to be as appealing to the wider audience, because Tekken 7 was appealing in some ways and it was fun to watch, but like at the same time Tekken 8 was selling better than Tekken 7 and seems to have done better because it was different. It wasn't as defensive oriented. Offense actually felt strong in Tekken 8. Too strong, but it felt strong. And in Tekken 7 didn't seem like people said that. So it's like, again, I can be wrong about a lot of these things, because I am speaking about some genres and like, well, not genres, I'm speaking about some franchises and like games that I didn't play. But when I hear optically about it, it's like these games were liked more than the other game that I'm naming that I've seen a lot more recently. So I'm looking at it like, why was this I liked a lot more and why this game wasn't? And there's normally the clear outliers that people state, but then it's like, okay, I can also see the argument of it. I can see the developers point in trying to do what they did and it not working, but it's like, okay, now what are you going to do now? And I do think the Tekken 8 devs, they have to fix it, but I don't think they're going to fix it in the way that a lot of Tekken fans are. I can see them either like just doubling down on these changes, and then Tekken 8 is just not really received as like people would like it, because a lot of games recently have been just like not living up to people's hopes. But I can also see at the same point, it's like they can make the changes and do what the fans ask for, but it may just be like too late to like now people are like, oh my god, now Tekken's in a really good state. Might be like a year or two down the line, because you can't just make rapid changes fast. Shit takes time. So by the time it can happen, now that big audience that Tekken 8 seemed to have cultivated and had people really clamoring that this was a really good fighting game, runner up to Street Fighter 6 currently as one of the best fighting games out, people are not going to feel that way. And now Tekken 8 might just be back to being the niche Tekken game that, you know, turns some people off. Some people like the changes of it being super offensive orientated. Some people didn't, but it's like, hey, it is what it is. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about fighting games as a whole currently in this current landscape that we're in, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.